right, everyone. Well, it's morning here for me, but I believe it's the end of the day for all of you. But whatever time it is, welcome. Thank you so much for inviting me to come and speak today at your event. I very much appreciate being included, as I always do. We're in a unique situation right now around the world, and I know you've all been together all day talking about different topics. Hopefully, you've been also online sharing ideas and providing community and support. I'm really here to talk to you a little bit more about that than I am the technology, but they very much complement each other right now. For a long time, we've been talking about in Teams engineering and also across Microsoft that, technology is an enabler. It is here to enable all of you to do what you want to do best. Right now, it's stay connected, but we also have to be productive and do things, frankly, we've never been asked to do. That is true across all of Microsoft, but certainly for all of you in your varying roles and positions. So we are in a unique situation, but the Better Together hashtag that I've normally used to talk about the technology is now extremely appropriate for all of us. We really are better together, and we will get through this unique situation we find ourselves in, even though I think at this point it's going to require further endurance and patience and flexibility with each other. When we think about where we are today in Office 365, we're definitely in a situation where, we get this opportunity to work with such powerful technology. Every time I talk about Teams, I try to land this idea, this concept of better together. Because even though Teams is a very powerful application, it's really a platform, a surface, and a hub for where all of these other capabilities come together. Azure and all the apps in Office, SharePoint, OneDrive, Stream, Yammer. We've got planning and Flow, and of course the Power Apps and Power Platform space. But it's never just about one thing, and that is very true today. Working remotely, for instance, is not just about your monitor setup and where your keyboard happens to be. It's also about your broader environment. Many of us are working from home in situations we never planned to be in. I feel very lucky that I have here in my home a dedicated home office, but many people don't. They could be at their kitchen counters, at their dining room table. With schools out around the world in various places, you could be in a situation where your kids are home and you're really trying to balance work and all of a sudden homeschooling your children. So I think what's most important now is that we think about the long-term impact of what's happening and how we as a community can rise together to support others who really have never embraced necessarily either remote work, technology, and tools. There's lots of folks out there who have not always joined us on this journey of digital transformation, but now we can help them in really their time of need, in a time when they're rapidly having to learn to use tools that they may have been aware of in the periphery, but now they have this opportunity to learn them more quickly. I will say that many people probably don't feel like it's an opportunity. They feel like they're being assaulted from a variety of sides with new information and many, many situations to manage. So as those of us who are leading in this space, if you're here today, then in one way or another, you are a leader in this space, and embracing that is important because people will listen to you. We can really be of service. We can really help folks, but only if we make sure also to take care of ourselves first. Self-care is essential to getting through what is going to be the next few months around the world and in understanding how things will be different in the long term. So leading through change takes more energy on a neurological level, on a psychological level, just physically. Someone asked in the IM window that about if I was getting any sleep. Many of us right now are working a lot of hours, but we have to make sure to invest in ourselves. As a leader, as an influencer, as a technologist, you may have people from your family, from your work, all coming to you for help. And even if you are just new to this community, maybe this is your first Teams Fest, your first encounter with this type of community. We want to embrace you and let you know that you are not alone in this situation. It's very important that we combat this idea that we are somehow separate from each other, even though we are not physically co-located in the same office or in the same space. We're not in a conference hall. I'm not having the privilege of getting to stand in front of you and give this a talk, but nonetheless, we are still together. And that idea, that concept of being together in a digital way and still being able to find support in this community is one of the reasons I've always loved this community so much. Whether it is Teams or SharePoint or SQL or Skype, Microsoft has always had very active communities that bring people together for learning and social reinforcement. And for the most part, they have always been very open and diverse and open to differences. And so this is a time where we can leverage that history that we have of being able to work together as we are doing these things. Now, on the tactical side, we have done a lot to also enable you for this remote work because, in the physicality of it, energetically we may be together, but physically we are separate. And so this is, again, as I mentioned, very different for many people. So what we've done is we put together specific guidance around the remote work scenario. And you can find all these assets right here at this URL, ak.ms Teams for remote work. We are working on rapid localization of these assets so that the main page, of course, support for remote workers, the IT guidance itself is localized. Some of the assets that you would download in our customer success kit are not yet. And so we're working on that rapidly because we've heard folks from around the world, they need all these assets in different languages. But it is a start to help people understand, what does my day look like now? And this is the part that I don't know that we're talking about enough. We were working with Lori and other people on the team in putting together our guidance about how to do virtual events. And one of the things that we talked about was signposts. When you go to a physical event, there is signage about what to do next and where to go and where the food is and where the restrooms are and all of that kind of stuff. When we think about these digital experiences, it's important to make sure that you're putting signposts in what you're doing. And that's really what the customer success kit is about. People may not have a lot of time right now to read everything that we put out, but over time it will. And what I've seen also is that people take a break. We are all working in different ways, and people take a break now and can go back and read some of the materials that we're putting out, especially like the remote worker download. There's another guide that's in our new success kit that also has a guide about setting up your home office environment. Those are the kinds of things that people can go back and take a look at once now they've settled in a little bit to this idea of remote working, and how to also support people who are still considered in some areas essential workers and are still out in the environment. I think that it's important to realize that this situation brings people to the fundamentals of the team's experience. They may not have time at the particular moment to hear about apps or all of the wonderful things that we can do in Teams, but there are certain key functions and functionality that can really help them right now, like using Planner, like using OneNote, and of course, core document collaboration. We have released a new document collaboration guide that is available on our main Microsoft Adoption Hub. And that doc toolkit really kind of steps people through the ability to collaborate seamlessly by putting their documents into Teams. You would be surprised. There's a lot of people that I find who still attach a file to an email. I wish they wouldn't do that. Let's embrace cloud attachments. Let's make sure we store things in SharePoint or OneDrive. Let's be sharing instead of attaching, right? There's a lot of ways to do this, but right now people tend to fall back to what they've always known. So if you want them to do something new, it has to be easy and seamless for them. When people are under stress, they have less brain power, literally, to learn and ingest new information. So if you get someone's attention for 5 minutes, then it's important to make sure that we use that attention wisely. I just feel like it's really important for all of you in the chat to continue to give your feedback on the tools and things that we're releasing in this area. We are pivoting as an organization widely across Microsoft, but also in Teams engineering and in our team in particular, to make sure that we're releasing things that are meaningful to you. That's why we focused on the remote work tools. That's why we focus on the document collaboration information. But what you need to ask for, and we can create the right things for you. That's both in the product, obviously, but also in these supporting functions of adoption guides and training and what have you. Now, I will tell you that the M365 Learning Pathways team that we're also on, we are releasing new content in the next week that will have updated content for Microsoft Teams and remote work playlists. So if you haven't been using Learning Pathways, I encourage you to do that. I think many of you have seen this. I'm actually going to hop over to Learning Pathways right now and go to home here. This is our free customizable training template, and I really encourage you to use this during this time, even for things like new processes. You know, you can create your own playlists. I can obviously show the playlist that's here for Microsoft Teams, but there are other playlists that you can create. This is all based on SharePoint, so it's relatively simple to make your own playlist that can show up, create an additional page. Maybe you'd like to set up your own remote work guidance for your employees, or getting assistance, things of that nature. You can do that in this application and then pin it inside of Teams, and poof, it's there. So I encourage you to take a look at this content. We are about to make some announcements about the release of the multilingual capability, and that multilingual capability is coming. We've slowed the deployment of multilingual, the SharePoint features for multilingual, and so we are behind that. So we've slowed that for some other response items and scale items that we'd like to accomplish, but it is still coming in relatively short order. I know that's been a big ask for a lot of people out there, but the next thing, of course, that we're working on is taking the Getting Started app out of beta. We anticipate that for mid-May. That was its original date. We're trying to pull that in now so that it can be in full production, so that this way of pinning the M365 Learning Pathways application inside of Teams can be released for everyone. There is already a beta version of this out on GitHub, but we want to get that to full production mode so that you can all be using that and configuring it in a way that's useful. As some of you have seen me demonstrate before, obviously you can pin other types of SharePoint sites into this app. It's extremely configurable. I was just having a conversation this morning with another organization doing a rapid deployment, and they are going to go ahead and use this so that they can put in their playlists and support for remote work and things of that nature to a very large group of end users. So, we want to make sure that this gets out to all of you so that you can be enabled in the fastest way. We've had a lot of feedback in the product about hey, what is that landing experience? How do you guide people through this? And so whether it's SharePoint itself or SharePoint embedded inside of Teams or this app, I encourage you to think about creating those signposts in the way that you are doing your Better Together designs so that folks know what to do next. That's a very important thing right now because, again, people have a lot of competing priorities for their mind share, and we just want to streamline their experience as much as possible. And again, make good use of the time and attention that people are giving us right now and giving all of you. Many of you may have seen this, but if you haven't, all of the information about what Microsoft is doing to respond to COVID-19 can be found in one location. That URL is shown below. That is obviously a main Microsoft page and is localized, aka.ms COVID-19 info. And this page has come together and continues to evolve every day with new information, resources, and assets. And from everything from information from what Satya and our senior leadership team is saying to remote work assets, but beyond that into education, community, and technical support. So we are scaling our services as never before. in, again, a rapid engineering motion. And we are confident and committed of making sure that our services are available and ready to help all of you. So, we definitely stand with and beside you in this situation. And there's literally thousands of people working on that at this moment. You're welcome to ask me any questions about what Microsoft has been doing, any questions about our services in the IM window. I'm happy to take those as we go through this. One of the advantages, actually, of this being a virtual conversation is that I can take those questions a little bit earlier and allow it to kind of guide what we talk about next. So I definitely encourage you to do that. I will try to keep an eye on that. Maybe Sharka, you can help me if somebody puts something out there so I can know about it.
Yeah.
Another. Thank you. Thank you. And please make sure I know when I have like 5 minutes. I'm not totally watching the time.
Sure.
Thank you. Another thing that we've really seen come together and a tremendous amount of activity right now has been in our Office 365 Champions program. So that is our worldwide free program where we run community calls and we focus on many of these better together scenarios. We talk about teams, we talk about stream, we talk about forms and flow, and we have topics that we have altered based on the current situation. So this is the updated information about our schedule, and the prior month's recordings and presentations can be found in our Driving Adoption Hub. I will put in the IM window the direct page that you can go to find that information, which we can share with you. And it's ak.ms0365 Champion Resources. And I do encourage you, if you have a moment, you might go out there and pull March's recording and presentation, because it was all about remote work, some of the material you're seeing here today, but some additional stuff, and also how about hosting virtual events. This has been an extremely hot topic since we've all been in the current situation, and our team has the privilege of being a bit at the center of that inside Microsoft. We recently converted our MVP Summit to a completely online virtual event. Sharka and Lori were absolutely instrumental in doing that work, and the rest of the team in Teams Engineering. But it did take a lot of people to pull it off because we were doing it so quickly, making a quick change. But that was approximately 800 sessions over 4 days with 3,500 attendees, and really an important moment for teams, both from a learning perspective, learning about things that we might want to do a little bit differently inside the product, but also from, creating community. So if you are going to think about doing a virtual event like this, like the one we're on right now, or one in your own organization, I do encourage you to think about your audience like a community. Think about engaging with them before, during, and after your event. Right? Bringing people together right now is a powerful tool, and teams can do that, especially in combination with live events or other things. And so, what we found, though, in that MVP team was that people didn't want to leave. Even when the actual virtual education event was over, people were still having conversations. They were posting pictures. They were connecting with each other. And I think that really speaks to the human need to be a part of something bigger than yourself. So whether you consider yourself a champion, or maybe you're an MVP, or maybe you're a developer out there, or a new citizen developer, you have a community waiting for you. And we are ready to be that place where you can find information, connect with your colleagues, and get your questions answered. The entirety of the Microsoft technical community is really there for you in that way. And while I run the Driving Adoption Forum, there's a forum specifically for teams. There's a forum for every application that we have, but there's more than that. There's forums on diversity inclusion, on the public sector, on healthcare. So if you haven't visited the Microsoft technical community, I highly encourage you to do that and come and participate and join the tribe of people that are out there interested in these various topics. I know some folks right now, they have more work than they've ever had before, but other people have some time on their hands. And this is an opportunity for learning. You can take some of this time that you have to invest in yourself, right? And it goes back to that original concept of invest in yourself, make sure you're doing self care so that you can display those elements of patience and flexibility with people that they're so very much going to need as the situation, continues. At the end of this deck, I also have, and I'll share these slides with you, obviously, we also have additional information that I share in every Office 365 Champions meeting about the core resources that are available, but also updates like our Office Pro Plus adoption guide. It's another flip book you can get to directly from Microsoft Adoption. There are books available on Microsoft Teams. Both have digital versions. Adopt and Embrace, excellent book, especially for team owners. I believe just got an Audible audio version. And of course, we have our online training assets that are available. And I do want to mention the fact that we have updated our Teams live training portal with a new course specifically for remote work. And so there's a lot of things out there to enable you right now, but these are all just tools of the community. The real asset is the community itself. We are definitely here, and we're able to help all of us as we go through this very unique time. So yes, Forsyth, somebody asked me to show a specific slide with the resources. Yes, I can do that. I think you're talking about the resource cheat sheet. Please tell me if that's what you were asking about. These are four sites that you should be very familiar with if you're in this space. And if you're new to this space, or even if you're not, sometimes, Microsoft has so many sites, it's hard to keep up. The M365 Roadmap site, you can find all the information about upcoming features across the services. You just filter on the left-hand side, and you can filter to Teams or any other application service you're interested in. The tech community is what I've been talking about, the core Microsoft technical community with all of the forums and the people there on a variety of topics. Docs.microsoft.com is all our IT pro and adoption documentation, the long form version, and developer.microsoft.com if you are a developer in building solutions. Much of this information and all of the adoption resources I've been showing, including the sign up for the Office 365 Champions Pro program, can be found at ak.ms Microsoft Adoption. And so I put these all together one day on a slide, and it's been a pretty popular slide over time. Just really trying to give people just the few places you need to go. Selfishly, I think if you get to the tech community and the adoption hub, you'll have the apex of the experience, and then you will go to these other locations, the roadmap, the documentation, and the developer documentation as you continue on your journey with us in Office 365. Yes, we will, of course, share this. And then, Alex, you have a question. I love questions, so keep them coming. Is there any plan to centralize things in the future? Yeah, I feel like I wonder if having a portal for all these things and then splits from technical and end user documentation, training, and marketing. Yeah, that's a great concept. I think that one of the challenges that we have in Microsoft in terms of centralizing information is because of the scale of people that we serve. So if you think about it, across education, across all the different industries, across small, medium, and large businesses, and then the very large enterprise, partners, developers, end users, folks like yourself, adoption specialists, I think it's very difficult to centralize that. And I think that this slide is frankly the best that I have been able to do. When I used to be in the field, I remember building some SharePoint servers, and I had, back in the day when it was on-prem, I had a folder on my desktop of the 40 different links that I had to keep in mind as I was working with Microsoft. So we've got it down to 4, and I'm actually working hard at a update to the main Microsoft Adoption Hub that actually will integrate more of these things more clearly. I would really love to be able to put up a slide and say, go to Microsoft Adoption, and we will farm you out to all the other things based on what your needs are. That's what we call at Microsoft a boiling the ocean vision. I don't necessarily believe I can do that, but certainly once you've already signed up to the service and you're engaged with us, we can continue to make it easier for you to find what you need. So it's a great point. Good feedback there. Let's see if we have any other questions. Okay. So yeah, I would really love to have a note or two in the IM window, really about what your experience is right now. And if any of the remote work guidance that we've been releasing, if you've been using it, it has been available for a little while. This information right here, maybe 3 weeks now, I want to say 2 to 3 weeks. But if any of you are using those day in the life tools, it's important. And I am going to hop out and do another quick demo here real quick and go to ak.ms Microsoft Adoption, which of course is our hub for all of these various and sundry tools. And I just wanted to mention that we have, if you have been using the Microsoft Teams Adoption Guide, we affectionately call this the Teams Toolkit. We have updated this to include a couple of new pages on remote work. So again, I got to this by going to ak.ms Microsoft Adoption. You might see people tweet ak.ms Teams Toolkit, but that main adoption hub, to your point of centralization, will get you where you need to be. But these are 2 new pages that we have added in this experience about remote work. And we're not just talking about Teams. Again, with that Better Together theme, you can think about OneDrive and SharePoint. Obviously, there are Teams actions here, but also Yammer and Stream can play an important part in that remote work scenario. New video about this if you want to get the top level overview. And here, of course, is this one sheet, this remote worker one sheet, which you can download. So I know people would love it if I released an editable version of these day in the life quick sheets. That is not likely to happen because we really want to make sure that we keep kind of the integrity of the flow and the way to use the software. But we are continuing to work on the localization of them so that folks can get to that more easily. Also, if you continue on here, actually, I need to go the other direction. If you download the entire kit of day in the life resources, you will also find ones in there around office and productivity. So we've updated a lot of these resources here for people who are doing rapid deployments. So, as always, we hope those things are helpful. Now, great. Alex, thank you for asking a question here. I'm hoping OneNote tab in Teams gets back to normal soon. Yes. So for those of you who aren't aware, there is a notification in Teams right now that OneNote does not sync in the Teams client. It has to actually sync in the app itself, either on the browser or through other means. And so that is a service change. I'm actually looking for a place to see if I can show that for you. That is a temporary service change that we've implemented, this notification right here. And so that will change soon. Everybody's working on it. So, but all you have to do if you encounter this or any other notification about a service adjustment during this time is go into the app itself, or go ahead and pop out to the web. Both of those experiences should work just fine. Next question. We would normally run our champion program with classroom training, but now moving to virtual and online sessions. Any tips on keeping it interesting and interactive? That is hard. We were just talking about that the other day. I really like to, normally if I'm teaching a full hour class, an actual class, I like to pause at different intervals and give quick pop quizzes or do an interactive poll. You can use Poly for that. You can use Forms for that. There's other tools that are available. Get people to actually answer some form of question. You do have to put in extra energy as an online teacher to keep that energy up. I think that's one of the challenges of delivering virtual content, but I do think that it can be done. So yeah, building in advance any of those items that can make you pause in the narrative, right? Pause in the narrative and get people to actually interact, talk with each other, ask a question, kind of like I'm doing right now. That is always a good idea. So that is a great question. Any others? Sharka, how am I doing on time?
You are just on time.
Okay, that's
Uh,
excellent. That's excellent. No, I will just close with saying that, um, nothing is more important than taking care of yourself and your family at this time. And we really are better together and stronger together as we go through this process. Microsoft is here with you, right here to support and enable whatever it is that you're trying to do. And the community is a fantastic asset. So if you are feeling stressed and alone, hop out to the MTC, ask a question, share how you're feeling, join the remote work forum, and have conversation with your peers. There are no dumb questions on the MTC. Just be open and honest about whatever help and support you need, and we will be there for you. So thank you for listening to me today. I really appreciate it, and I hope whatever you do next, you enjoy it. Thank you so much.